that they're going to do it. They're going to end up selling a camera that we can hook up and that we can connect to.
Well, there's a number of broadcast media cameras you can get.
Let's see. So, it looks like it's doing okay right now.
So where are we?
So same question, take two. Do you have a media background? Because CarpQuest videos, they got a ton of production value, and they're just, it seems like you have a background in it because they're so fun to watch.
I've done some, video editing and stuff when I was a lot younger, but mainly I've got an IT background.
Awesome.
I have a love for IT, quite a bit of art as well, so I was quite artsy when I was younger.
And guys, for anybody on the live feed or anybody that watches this later, if you hear any beeping in the background, that these guys are set up, and if there's a bite alarm that goes off, John's gone. He's going to go win the tournament.
We're fishing a tournament live here at Lake Arbor, so the guy in the lead's got one fish at the moment, so that's all that's been caught this morning.
So you got into carp fishing back home, I'm assuming. When did you start?
I started back in about 1977, and my uncle took me out onto a big river in the middle of England called the River Trent, and went fishing for chub. So I caught some chub, that got me hooked on fishing, went down to local lakes, caught a carp, and that was it. I was hooked.
Awesome. And what is it about carp that you love so much? Because it's I get the allure. I fly fish for carp. I definitely get it. But what drew you into carp, and what continually makes you fish for carp exclusively?
They're a smart fish. Carp are a really smart fish. You can argue one of the smartest fish that's out there. They learn, they remember things, and they're not always easy to catch, as we've seen today. 16 people fishing this morning, one fish caught. So it's not always, fishing a barrel carp fishing. It can be very, very hard. And, they're one of the hardest fighting fish, in my opinion, that we're going to get here in our local lakes.
And that's documented too, because if you talk to a bass guy, they're going to say bass are the smartest walleye guys, but it's actually documented that carp are the smartest freshwater fish.
Yeah, if you catch a carp a couple of times exactly the same way with the same bait, it's probably not going to eat it again.
Yeah.
You really go, it's not going to eat it very often. I've actually seen carp swim around baits I've caught them on before. They see it, then they just go around it.
Yeah, they just remember the negative stimuli.
They remember the stimuli.
Okay, perfect.
You can certainly catch them if they're really hungry. They'll probably still chow down, but they're not easy to catch. And certainly in Colorado, we've got so many really good waters. Yeah. Especially around the metro area. There's so many lakes that have got carp in them. You're going to be able to catch carp anywhere from a couple of pounds up to 30 pounds. So where else can you catch?
Yeah, I mean they're a great sport fish, and they are a sport fish. Let's before we talk about the evolution of carp fishing here in Colorado, real quick, CarpQuest, it started in, you were saying 2012?
Yeah, 2012, I started writing journals, writing blogs on Fish Explorer, trying to, advertise carp fishing to the masses that way. And I had a camcorder that we got, I think, for a vacation my wife got me. I thought, what the heck, I'll check it out and I'll try and video my return to carp fishing. And to be fair, it wasn't a good start. I certainly didn't go out within, 1-2 days and haul loads of carp. It didn't happen. It took months and months of trying to understand carp fishing in America versus carp fishing back in Europe, and how the carp here behave, and what it takes to catch them.
Well, and that's the thing that's fun, is with any video series, is being able to grow with somebody. I think that's a big part of the fun for the viewer. And guys, if you're not watching CarpQuest, I don't care if you're a bass guy, walleye guy, pike guy, it's a great video series to watch. It's super entertaining whether you fish for carp or not, and you learn how beautiful carp fishing is. So more on that, the evolution of carp fishing in Colorado. Yeah. Growing up, if somebody would have said there's going to be a carp tournament,
you'd have laughed.
Yeah, most of us would laugh.
People laugh.
What? Now it's you have a ton of people interested in the sport.
When that was one of the biggest eye-openers for me when I thought, oh, there's carp here, I'll start fishing for carp, caught a couple of fish, happily posted them proudly on Fish Explorer, local forum, and I got decimated. It was a bunch of haters out the door, and I thought, what the hell? And I started meeting people on the bankside, and it was just like, this is a trash fish, just toss it on the side, beat it with a stick, throw it over there for the coats. Yeah. And I couldn't understand it. I came from Europe where carp fishing is a multi-billion-dollar sport. Yeah. And outside of the USA, carp's the #1 sports fish in the world. But in the USA, it's hated, and I can understand some of the reasons why. So that was a real eye-opener. But I didn't let it stop me. It was like, okay, well, I'm going to carry on. Yeah. I'm going to carry on fishing, and I'll carry on filming. I'll keep posting the captures. And what I thought I'd try and do was help other people catch carp. Yeah.
And you've done a great job. You've done a great job.
You know, and it's either through the videos or through taking people out one-on-one. You know, just once they've caught a carp, generally a lot of the time people's attitudes change.
Well, any young kids watching this, there's a lesson to be learned there, and that's longevity. You know, if you're passionate about something,
keep going.
Yeah, who cares who hates on you, who's negative? Just keep going, because through hard work you're gonna achieve your goal, and your goal, you know, really bringing light to the sport fish, carp fishing. You're achieving it. You know, look at this. We're here at Tightline Outdoors. Don't bash the trash. Carp fishing tournament, and like we were just talking about, who would have thought years ago that we would have a carp fishing tournament here in Colorado?
I was almost literally in tears. Sat here last year with 20, 25, 26 people sat there fishing for carp catch and release in Colorado, because, you know, 4 years before nobody would have thought we'd get to this point.
But, and the other thing that I want to talk about is, you know, a lot of us are adamant about catch and release for our sport fish, that the ones that we target. The walleye guys are crazy about it, the bass guys, pike guys. First and foremost, anybody that catches sport fish and releases them, they can learn from carp fishermen, because I've seen how you guys handle fish and how serious you take the health of the fish.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. Second, you know, people do throw carp away. They throw them up on the bank.
Yeah,
and it's one of those things. We had a post. It was Todd on my Facebook feed. Yeah. He talked about, Eric, what do you think about guys that throw carp up on the bank or harvest carp because they eat bass eggs? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's one of those things to where, from a bass angler's point of view, I see his point. But then, like we were just talking, you saw a 20-pounder on the bank. If I was to see a 5-pound bass floating, I would be devastated. Yeah. So that's something that we have to think about. And then again, I said it on the feed. I'll say it now. If you catch a fish and you decide to harvest it, whether it be carp, bass, bluegill, anything, if you throw it on the bank, you're a turd. There's no way about it. You know, you're just a turd. Yeah. But so conservation-wise, what can we get folks to understand about carp that maybe they don't understand about carp? If they see them overpopulated somewhere, what do you suggest? Yeah,
we can talk about that. And I'm not going to raise my hand and say every carp is sacred. No, I'm not foolish enough to think that there's lakes, certainly in Colorado, I think we know which ones they are. You could say Jackson, Bar, would be the top 2 popular lakes that are infested with carp. Yeah. We could talk about why they got to that point, but they're infested with carp. You know, and something does need to be done. But there's other lakes, you know, Arbor's actually got quite a few carp in it, but some of the big reservoirs, they're not infested with carp. Yeah. They've got carp in there that can be 20, 30 plus pound fish, and it takes them a decade, you know, maybe more to grow to that size.
20, 30 pounds of flawless looking.
Yeah, flawless looking carp.
Now, is that an indication that there are too many carp? Because a lot of the reservoirs, the smaller ones, like Jackson Bar, when you do see carp, they're beat up, and it's not just during the spawn, they're really beat up. Yeah,
you're going to see a lot of small fish. So when I'm looking for somewhere to fish for trophy size carp, I'm looking for carp that are averaging 28, 29 inches as the average fish. You know, if the place is jam-packed full of fish that are 18 to 24 inches, you know, 4 to 6, 7 pounds, they're still a good fun fish for your kids to catch. But if it's just infested with them, then it's got a real problem. Yeah. Because a lake can only support a certain biomass, be it carp, bass, trout, pike, whatever. There's only so many pounds of fish that lake will support. And I'd much rather it have, you know, 20, 30 pound carp than 200, 5-pound carp. So
the same as bass guys. The same exact thing. And the other thing that let's talk real quick about beginners. Somebody just getting into the sport of carp fishing. I'm looking at your guys' setups. You got bite alarms. You guys got. I mean, it's really cool. But if somebody just wanted to start, what would you recommend tackle wise? Could they do it with something they already have, maybe?
Yes, most people can get out there and start fishing for carp. 6.5 foot medium rod. You know, light rod, you could definitely land the fish, but you could always snap your rod as well. Any spinning reel. I'm not sure I'd say a bait caster, but a spinning reel where you can adjust the drag on the front of the reel pretty easily. A reel that holds maybe 100, 125 pounds of 8, 12 pound line. I see a lot of people getting into carp and they've got tiny little reels that maybe hold 30, 40 yards of line. And a carp will strip 30, 40 yards of line in a heartbeat. And it'll strip your line, it'll either pull your whole rod in and it's going to be gone. And then you can use just about any type of terminal tackle. Just a slip sinker, you know, say maybe 1 ounce to a swivel, to a section of hook link, to a hook. And then stick some corn on it, definitely have some bank sticks. You know, don't just lay your rod on the ground and think, I'm going to... Even if we were sat here and the rod was there, right in front of us, if a carp gets that bait, that rod's going to be gone before you can actually lean down and save it.
And I'm going to be honest, I've lost rods doing that.
People lose rods off boats, off the bank. I've been sat fishing with people, I've taken out fishing for carp, and it's like, you need to keep an eye on your rod. That rod is going to go. You know, the rod's going to go.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to get my rod. And I'll sit there, and, you know, half an hour later, that rod's literally going out into the lake.
Yeah.
And not only has the guy lost the rod, but for me, from a conservation point of view,
There's a fish going
there's now a
around with all
carp
that, yeah.
throwing around somebody's fishing rod. So it sounds pretty funny, but I've seen lots of people's rods go flying into the lake.
Yeah, so we used to fish.
Yeah.
It's a little pond. It's off of 72nd.
Yeah.
My Uncle Jack took us there, and we with corn and
Yeah.
with bread.
Corn,
We would
yeah.
keep bread.
Bread definitely works.
And we would catch carp, but we did the same thing. We left one rod there, and then we were bass fishing with the other rod, and it was gone.
It's gone.
And that just goes to show how strong these fish are. And you're, you know, the fish in the ponds that we were fishing, they were, you know, from the 4 to 6 pound range.
And that'll do it. That'll take a heavy rod into the lake.
Fun to catch, but so what do you consider a trophy carp?
Trophy carp to me, you know, I'm going for the standard Colorado sets, which is 30 inches or above. So a trophy size carp here in Colorado is going to be 13, 14 pounds plus. And to me, that's a trophy size fish.
So what about, how often do you run into mirror carp and stuff like that? That's the one I want to catch the most.
Mirror carp are obviously, they're a common carp. It's just got a genetic difference to the scale pan. In Colorado, they're about 1 to 5% of the population, depending upon where you go.
Yeah.
You know, we were fishing south of Adams County. You know, I've seen a lot of episodes up there. In 3 years of fishing there, I've caught 1 mirror carp. Now, guy Andrews over here, he's caught 2. And that's probably out of 120, 130 fish.
So we got Brian Aiden here. Have you fished Platte Park Lakes for carp, the ones that are right off the other side of C470? I've tried there with corn 10 times, and I have not yet to get a bite. Brian, have you seen them there? Because I've actually fished those lakes, and I haven't seen carp there.
I've not fished the Platte Lakes, but just because that's one of the other things I talk to people about. If you go out carp fishing, you can come out and you can catch 10, 12 fish in a day. You can come out and catch nothing. It doesn't mean there's not carp there. So even though you've been out with some corn tossing in there, obviously like Eric said, does it have carp in there? Have you seen them? You know, but if you've definitely seen the fish in there, it can take a while for the fish to find the bait. It depends on the weather as well, the time of year. But corn's certainly a great bait, and that will probably catch them eventually. But, you know, a couple of trips out and no carp, that doesn't mean much.
Well, and you're so close to Chatfield, why not just fish Chatfield?
Well, Chatfield is probably arguably one of the best trophy carp fisheries, if only we could have one in the state.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, talking about trophy carp, do you think there's ever going to be a day where there's a lake or two managed for carp?
Yes. And that's already happened in the United States.
Awesome.
You know, you're on about bass fishing, you know, Lake Fork or whatever, probably one of the best bass fisheries, probably one of the best carp fisheries in the country. And then there's Ladybird Lake in Texas as well, which is actually a designated trophy carp fishery in Texas.
Oh, awesome.
And to designate it, all they've done is they put a slot limit on the lake, which means I think Ladybird's either 32 or 34 inches. You can't take more than 1 fish out a day.
That's great.
But just getting to that one point, just putting that one regulation in place, the carp haters went absolutely mad. It's like you've just stopped them from enjoying their sport altogether.
Well, and that's the thing. We even in Colorado, you know, we don't have the tons of bodies of water like some states do.
No,
but we do have enough bodies of water to where I think we should look into managing a lake for trophy carp because it's look at how many people are here on the Tight Line Outdoors again that don't bash the trash tournament. It's just going to continue to grow because they are such a hard fighting fish, and you don't need crazy tackle to start.
You don't need crazy tackle, and even about, say, trophy carp lakes, the other one I'd probably say you need a trophy carp fishery of, it's the South Platte River.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know, the fly fisherman, that is one of the holy grails of places to go fly fishing the carp. You know, the Trout Unlimited guys do their charity carp slam event every year. You know, some awesome fish in the South Platte. But you know, they're not hard to catch, and they're certainly pretty easy to shoot off the bank. Yeah. So you know, that would be the carp. You know, Chatfield, Cherry Creek, probably up north.
I wonder about and I've tried to talk to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, and it's one of those things. It's going to take time, and
it is.
I talked to him about the idea of a gold medal bass lake. I think it would be cool if we look at some of the different stretches of the South Platte River in town, and we find one that produces better than the others. Maybe there's something about it. Maybe there's two rivers running together, something like that, and make 5 miles gold medal carp fishing. You know, it'll just show that we're progressive thinking when it comes to fishing.
Or pick a lake. Pick a lake. Don't pick a garden pond, but pick a reservoir, or pick a big body of water that has known big quality carp in there, and just say, okay, we'll put a slot limit on it.
Yeah.
We're not saying you can't harvest this. In fact, you know, I'd actually encourage people, if you're going out and you're fishing for carp and you're catching small carp and you want to eat it. Yeah. You know, supposedly they can taste good if they're cooked right. You want to use it for bait, use it for bait.
My grandpa, so I got two sides of family. I got one from Denver and the other one from Commerce City. Yeah. And my grandpa ate carp. He caught from the Platte. He ate a ton of them. So it's one of those things to where it boils down to love of the fish, and that's I think that's why I love Carp Quest so much. Is you can just flat out tell that you absolutely love carp fishing, and it's one of those things with me. If somebody's passionate about something, I'm entertained. Yeah. Period. You know, talking a little bit more about the advanced setups. Yeah. You know, we've got bite alarms. We've got all this stuff. I think what we'll do, guys, is after we get off this live feed, just because we tried it once, we kind of lost service.
Yeah, I lost the signal over there.
We'll do a rundown of John's equipment because this is something I didn't know. Your reels have 2 drags. Yeah,
multi-drag reels. They've got the main drag in the front, then they've got a bait runner, or sometimes it's called bite and run. You see them a bit more probably in the States on saltwater fishing setups. Yeah. But so we've got multi-drag reels.
So real quick, before we cut the live feed in, guys, we'll do a Q&A. And my eyes are so bad. Sorry about you guys having to look at the big mug here. I've seen 100 of carp there. Okay, well, like John said, it's maybe that. So I'm interjecting like I'm a big carp guy. So what would you suggest? He's been fishing. He's seen a bunch. He's using corn. What would you suggest for him to get into the carp?
Corn's probably your #1 bait. I know you haven't caught carp a couple of times out there, but it's certainly going to be the best starting bait you can go for. Otherwise, you could try. It all depends. Are the carp feeding? You've seen a couple of 100 carp. Are they heads down, routing around in the ground, or are they all cruising around at the surface? Yeah. If the carp are on the surface of a lake, the odds of them diving down to eat your corn are pretty much 0. So if you're on the surface, you could do things like maybe get some bread, mould it around your hook, toss it out there so it's a floating bait on the surface. Yeah. So bread, dog biscuits, anything that floats, Cheetos. I know that sounds pretty silly, but any type of floating bait would go for a carp on the surface. But certainly corn's your best starting bait. You know, there's obviously a plethora of carp-specific baits you can make, you can buy, they're out there. But you just want to get into a carp. That's the cheapest bait to start with.
Well, and look up Carp Quest. Yeah. You know, a ton of information, and then as far as you know, Fish Explorer, it's a good forum, but it's you know, it's locally based. It's more about other species. If somebody wants to dive in and fully dive into carp fishing, what resources would you suggest other than Carp Quest? Because like I said, Carp Quest, you guys got to check it out.
Obviously, there's a Carp Anglers group, which would be the North America's carp fishing group across the whole state. Hundreds of members, thousands of years of experience fishing for carp. You know, outside of Colorado, there's actually a lot of states with quite a lot of members, and they host fishings and events throughout the year. You know, we have some more members in Colorado, but sadly we don't. But you know, there's a couple of parts of the forum. There's a public section where you can read all the beginner carping information there. Yeah. Or you can post a question on Fish Explorer and I'll answer it there. You can drop me an email and I'll answer people's emails. Well, and I'm happy to talk to anyone on the bank side as well.
Well, and that's the thing, guys. Yeah. You know, if you don't watch our podcast, we got our podcast is called the Local Fishing Knowledge LFK Podcast. And basically, it's just that. I had a question the other day. A gentleman wants to go to Flaming Gorge. Yeah. He wants to go lake trout fishing. My first thing is talk to the locals. Yeah. You know, go to the local tackle shop. But if you go to the local tackle shop here in Colorado, I don't know that you're going to find a carp expert. But no, you just said you're readily available. Yeah. Shoot John a message. You know, he can help you with a number of different things: equipment, pack baits, you name it. Yeah. He knows everything that is going on in the Colorado carp fishing scene.
Fly fishing, not my speciality. There's probably some better people on fly fishing that can certainly give you some pointers there.
And fly fishing wise, a good resource for that, Barry Reynolds is a legend.
Barry Reynolds would be the legend of carp fishing on the fly. And let's see, Trevor Tanner would be another good person.
Oh, so that's Tim. And Tim was actually the gentleman that brought up the carp feeding on bass.
Carp feeding on bass. So what's your take on carp feeding on bass?
You know, it's tough because it's one of those things. To where first off, if you don't take a male off of a bed, more often than not, the carp won't inner truth.
That's the key point I was going to make, and
Yeah.
this is anecdote. It's a huge discussion, not just in Colorado, nationwide. It's carp come along and eat all the bass eggs. If there's a male on the bass bed, even a small male bass is not going to let a 20-pound carp come in and eat its eggs.
Yeah.
Now, if you take that bass off that bed, or you're catching it off that bed, or you're scaring it off that bed somehow, and it's an unprotected bed, then the carp's going to come through and plow it down like a field of grass.
And it's a good thing that we're talking about this, because honestly, when Tim first posted that question, I didn't think about it too much, because I did say, I've seen carp eating bass eggs, but then
Where's the bass?
Sitting here with you now, I think where's the bass, but I've also seen crappie do it, I've seen bluegill do it, I've seen suckerfish do it.
Catfish do it.
Yeah, so it's one of those things, guys, to where bass fishermen, carp can wreak havoc on a body of water if they get crazy population.
If they get crazy
crazy
if they're out of control population, and normally, carp have been around in the Americas for 150 years almost. And they've been around even here in Colorado for over 100 years. And the lakes that are now infested with carp have had carp in them for decades.
Yeah.
They didn't suddenly have carp leaping out of nowhere and take over. And what's happened is something happened at the lake, and in Colorado it's usually water fluctuations, runoff pollution, human activity, boating activity, bankside erosion, the erosion of wetlands around the lake, and that does the damage and reduces the water quality.
Yeah.
And the sports fish people like start to decline, and the carp fill the void,
Yeah.
So people come along and say, oh, there's all these carp taking my lake over, I'm going to go and massacre some of them. And they start wiping out all the big carp. And the little carp are just like,
and now we get to populate even more.
They've got loads more carp and loads more little carp, and it carries on and it carries on and it carries on.
Well, and if we change the perception of they are a sport fish, not a trash fish, because so I fish the Dream Stream section in between Finney and 11 Mile. Fly fishermen routinely catch a suckerfish, they throw it up on the bank.
Yeah.
If you throw anything up on the bank, you're not a sport fisherman.
It's illegal. Let's just put it this way: it is illegal to throw a game fish on the bank in Colorado. You can say you're feeding the coyotes, feeding the raccoons, feeding the birds. You can't do it. If you get caught doing it, you should get a ticket.
Well, and let's try to be good to each other as anglers as well, because it's you might like to catch perch, you might like to catch crappie, and like we were talking about earlier, there was a 20-pounder floating here.
Yeah,
and
around.
if you put the shoes on the other foot and it's a 5-pound bass, it's a 25-pound channel cat, a huge pike, a huge walleye, it's gonna sting. So the next time you run into carp, remember that there's anglers in Colorado that is their preferred species. Oh no, it's good. My battery's going dead.
Battery's low.
So we got just a little bit.
The carp are the preferred species.
One of my
the key for me is don't waste.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't care. Actually I do. I suppose I care if someone goes out and bow and arrows a 35-inch carp. If they take it home and eat it, okay, I don't like it, but they're using it.
Yeah. I
don't care if somebody catches a carp and chops up a carp and uses it for bait. But to take a fish, any fish, catch it, haul it out and destroy it on the bank is a waste. You're wasting that for the resources, you're wasting it for other people. That could be somebody else's dream capture.
Well, and not only that, the perception that can be kind of facilitated through one person seeing another person do it.
Another person to do it.
It's one of those things. Like I wrote an article on Fish Explorer a couple months ago, maybe it was a month ago, about taking a couple grocery bags and filling them up with trash. If I took 2 grocery bags here at Lake Arbor, which actually it looks great. It looks great.
This place is in great condition.
Yeah, it looks great. So
really
let's say a different metro area lake. I'm not cleaning up the entire bank with 2 little Safeway sacks, but if somebody sees me doing it, maybe next time they do it, that can happen in a positive sense and a negative sense. So if somebody sees you tossing a carp up on the bank and then walking away, they might think it's okay when actually it's illegal, like you said.
It's illegal. Bottom line.
So, guys, I really appreciate it. Yeah. So, sorry about that, guys. But
we're going to do more stuff. We can carry on talking about specific venues that I fish, gear and tackle that we fish with. We can really drill in some of this. Really, whatever it is you as a community want to know about carp. What can we help tell you?
And me personally, because I'm interested in this and how you guys fish, I think the next live feed, and actually I live close to Adams County.
Okay.
So let's go up to Adams County and let's break down the setup.
Yeah. Break down a session.
And if anybody has any questions, I'll go beforehand. I'll make sure we have good signal to where if anybody has any questions, we can walk them back through it. But I really want you guys to see how awesome these setups are. And the other thing I really want everybody to see, not just guys interested in carp fishing, walleye fishermen, bass fishermen, trout fishermen, pike fishermen, that how you guys care for your fish. It's amazing. They leave no stone unturned. They love these fish, and it shows. So again, John, I really appreciate it. And guys, make sure you check out Carp Quest.
Thanks, everyone.
And I hate to do this, guys, but I have to figure out how to turn this. There we go.